Welcome to the Tampa Native Show. Stay tuned now for the most entertaining 60 minutes from the studios at TBCN, Tampa Bay Community Network. Join your hosts, Mario Nunez and Steve Canella, as they celebrate growing up in Tampa. From Shakey's to Shock Armstrong, Braddock Street, and Buffalo Avenue, get ready to call in and tell us your stories, because sharing your memories has never been this much fun. The Tampa Native Show is brought to you by the Columbia Restaurant. And now, here's your hosts, Mario Nunez and Steve Canella.
Welcome back, everyone, to this week's edition of the Tampa Native Show. I'm your host, Mario Nunez, alongside my broadcast partner,
Steve Canella.
And we're so thrilled that you're back with us again this week 6 of our 14-week series. We are just thrilled to death to have in studio tonight with us the gentleman for whom, we all owe a debt of gratitude, especially for those of us that are enjoying this show so much, Mr. Richard Gonzmart, who is seated here to my right. Welcome.
It's great to be with you guys tonight.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you for being here, Richard.
Thank you so much. You know, usually what we do at the beginning of the show, we haven't had an in-studio guest today. Usually what we do is we go ahead and review last week's show, which we're going to do at just about this time, and read some of the emails that we got that you sent in. We don't want to leave anybody out. And we're going to do that at this time before we start to talk about the Columbia Restaurant. So let's go ahead and do that, Steve. What do you say?
I agree. Let's do that right now.
All right. First of all, we've got this message here from Miss Deborah Croy. Deborah writes, and if you remember, last week's show was centered on all those silly, crazy things we did as kids and lived to tell about it. Well, Deborah Croy writes, sneaking on base, security wasn't as tight back then, running behind the mosquito truck to play in the fog. Alan swears that's what's wrong with us. Riding our bikes all over the neighborhood, playing cowboys and Indians, cops and robbers, etc., playing in the palmetto bushes, climbing them like they were hills. Where were the snakes? She says, playing in the baseball field out back, now an apartment building. She says, this is Deborah Croy. P.S. My lucky number is 53. Thank you, Deborah. Steve?
Okay, we have another email from Edie Strickland. Edie writes, one night during a slumber party, we all got the bright idea to go ride our bikes down Columbus Drive to the river at midnight. There must have been about 5 of us, all in shorts, and all of us with rollers in our hair, riding down Columbus. I still can't believe we did that. We also walked everywhere at all hours. Favorite number, 14. Great show, guys. Hugs, Edie. Great email, Edie. Thank you.
Next email comes to us from Mike Pizzaferrato. Michael writes, well, Big Mike told me to watch the show. I'm a big Bucks fan, been with them through thick and thin. I remember the Christmas tree forts I used to make, my box forts in the backyard. I grew up at 108 South Cooper Place near West Shore and Kennedy. I remember when I was young, the mosquito plane flying outside. We used to go outside and look for it. Oh yeah, Mario, go Jefferson. Hope to hear from you. Michael Pizzaferrato, Pizza Man. Thank you, Michael. Steve.
This email from Casey Powell. Casey writes, hey, Mario and Steve, talking about how things have changed. I remember going to Chan's Hobby Shop on Henderson Boulevard to buy models. Mostly the monster models like Frankenstein, Dracula, etc. Well, in the 70s, there was a problem with teens sniffing glue. So in order to buy glue for your model, you had to have a note from your mom giving them permission to sell you the glue. Try that today. I agree, Casey. Great email. Thank you.
This next email comes to us from Tanya Fernandez. She says, great show, guys. Enjoying it every week. My lucky number for the Bolita drawing later on is number 55. Thank you, Tanya. And Steve.
Okay, we have another email from Johnny Senchet. He's our primary researcher. Johnny writes, also, here is another tidbit for next week's show as a follow-up to this week's. That photo, and we'll see that photo in a second here. Jeff will put that up here, the photo of the elephant. That photo that someone shared with you, the little girl on the elephant, I didn't know if that submitter provided any info on the photo, but I can share some insights for you.
Is that the photo from Lowry Park?
That's the photo from the Lowry Park
There it
Zoo.
is.
Oh, there we go.
Jeffrey, right on cue.
Look
at our director, Jeffrey Haynes.
And Johnny Senchet is writing about this photo here from Lowry Park, but he continues, I recognize the park and the elephant. The elephant's name was Sheena, and Sheena was donated to Lowry Park Zoo by the Lowry family in 1961. The elephant and the monkey were used as part of the animal show the zoo used to have during the 1960s. Great photo. Thanks for the email, Johnny. Great email, too.
Well, look at that photo. Isn't that amazing? We talked about that last week.
We did.
Richard, I know you weren't here last week, but that photo right there drew so much interest because, think about it today. Who in their right mind, as a parent, would put their child on the back of an elephant and then, for good measure, put a chimpanzee on their child? Look at the size of that chimp's arm. It's as wide as that kid's chest. Anyway, that was Lowry Park back in the day, and that was those wonderful, silly, crazy things we did as kids, and in some cases as adults. and live to tell about it. Thank you so much for your emails. At this time, just give a real quick special shout out to two of our youngest viewers and fans out there. Anthony and Bella, we know you're out there watching. It's getting close to your bedtime, but thanks so much for being there with us as well. Those are two of Tampa Native's youngest fans. Well, we are... And let me just digress for just a moment. Indulge me, if you will, Richard. We talked about this before we went on the air. I just have to say, as a baseball fan, and you know, Tampa's history is steeped in tradition where baseball is concerned. I think today our Rays laid an egg. I mean, there's no other way to look at it. We you know, at least we didn't get no hit. Apparently, Roy Halladay decided it was his day to no hit the Cincinnati Reds. So it's just been one of those days. I was a little depressed here driving to the studio, but then as Mr. Gonzmart showed up and Richard and we started to set up the studio, well, the energy came back.
And you know, Mario, there wasn't a lot of home runs today in the game, but I think we hit a home run tonight having Richard Gonzmart here with us tonight.
The Rays will be back tomorrow. I believe it. They'll be there, and they're going to be a contender.
Good. From your lips, because I believe that as well. Well, at this time, we'd like to go ahead and if you will, Mr. Haynes, if you'll show that number, we'll get the lines primed and ready while we talk a little bit to Richard, just a little bit of history and perspective, talking a little bit about the Columbia Restaurant. Most of you know that the Columbia Restaurant has been in existence since 1905. Hence the 1905 salad that every one of us enjoys when we go there for lunch and dinner. But the reality is, we found out just this week in a discussion with Mr. Gonzmart that there was a little bit of a change in that.
As we were getting ready for the 100th anniversary, we were telling everybody we were Florida's oldest restaurant. Many publications says, do you have proof? So we went to Dr. Gary Momino, a historian at University of South Florida, and a professor. He says, I've got some great news, I've got some bad news. So, my gosh, in my mind, I think there's somebody in the panhandle. He says, the bad news is you missed your 100th anniversary. I said, but it's only 2004. He says, well, the problem is the restaurant opened on December 17th, 1903. The same day the Wright brothers took flight. And heck, we've been to the moon and back and to Mars, and we're still cooking arroz con pollo and black beans and rice the way my great-grandfather did.
That is an amazing revelation. I mean, to think now, the Columbia Restaurant has been around. It predates flight. Actually, the same day at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina.
I'll tell you, when you like a 1905 salad, maybe without olives and tomato, tell your server you want a 1903 salad.
We'll do that. Okay? We'll do that. Make note, y'all. Make note out there.
Definitely.
We're going to be entertaining your calls tonight. So what we're going to ask for you to do is to go ahead and call in with your favorite remembrance of the Columbia Restaurant. And what Steve and I typically do when we have a topic of the week is we give our silly, crazy thing that we did. We give our elementary school different topics in weeks past. And today I'd like to let my partner go first. Stevie, tell us your favorite
Mario.
Remembrance of the Columbia Restaurant.
Well, Mario and Richard, I have plenty of memories of the Columbia Restaurant. Many times I've been there over the years. But my most recent experience was just going for dinner and having the paella, a fantastic dish of paella, and listening to the Spanish guitar while watching the flamenco show. The flamenco dancers, they were phenomenal.
Yeah.
And it just amazing. Talk about truly amazing dining experience. You know, it was just the sights, the sounds, just the ambiance and the history. And I was thinking during dinner too, how many conversations over the last 100 years, took place in this restaurant? You know, how many conversations, how many weddings, how many
business deals were brokered?
How many exactly?
And are still being brokered.
It was just. It's amazing, the history though of the restaurant. Just totally interesting. But phenomenal place. How about you, Mario?
If those walls and those tables could speak, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Well, mine goes back to 1969, 70, thereabouts, maybe 69. Sixth grade, remember a field trip where we went for lunch. Actually, we took a tour of Ybor City, and Richard, I was going to ask you about this. We didn't get to talk about this yesterday. Do you remember in Ybor City there was something that used to be called La Carroza?
La Carroza, sure.
There you go. There you go. I'm so grateful you remember because I have vivid fond remembrances of that. But nobody else that I've talked to said I don't remember La Carroza. Well, La Carroza, if you can imagine, predated any tram that they had over like at Disney World. It was a small little golf cart type tractor that pulled a little train that sat maybe 30 people behind it, and then there was a gentleman that spoke to you, and you went to all the different places in Ybor City of significance, and you got a tour. You stopped at La Segunda Central Bakery, and you got a loaf of bread, and and it ended with a lunch for us at the Columbia. And what made it special was that my father, who was working there at the time, happened to be working a split shift, and he waited on our group. And then I guess he got permission, and he took us on a little bit of a tour of the restaurant, including all the dining rooms and one little specific hideaway that we kind of got to sneak a peek at that room. And it was just one of those wonderful, wonderful memories that I have as a child. So thank you to Richard and your family for providing us with all of that. We've got a caller already.
Definitely.
Shall we go to the calls?
I say let's do it.
Caller, you're on the air. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
I'm Vincent Pelori calling from Davis Island.
This is Vincent Pelori from Davis Island. Hi, Vincent.
How you doing?
Vince, this is my best friend.
There you go. Well, Vince, say hello to your best friend.
Hey, Vince, what are you doing up this late tonight?
Well, I was just flipping through the channels and I saw you and I wanted to call in and give some of my best memories of the Columbia.
Please, Vince, let us share with us and our viewers.
Remember when Richard and I were just in grade school, our parents would be eating dinner on Saturdays watching the Flamingo show, and we'd go exploring all the ins and outs and the hidden passageways and hidden rooms of the Columbia. We had a ball as a kid and a lot of great memories.
Vince, we met in Seabourn Nursery School when we were 3 years old.
Oh my, this is your oldest longtime friend.
Yeah, this is my longest friend. We went through from nursery school to kindergarten, first grade through high school, and Vince is the godfather of my daughter Andrea.
Oh my,
Wow.
that's so
What a
great
story.
that you
What a
called,
story.
Vince. Thank you so much.
Vince was there through all the good, the bad, and the ugly, and when I was courting Melanie, my wife, and you made me smile. You brightened my night.
Good deal. You're doing a great job, and it's a great service
Thanks, Vince.
to us.
And we'd like to invite you, Vince, to watch our show every Wednesday at 9 o'clock, even if the big man isn't here sitting next to us, because he has a lot to do with this show. His generosity is all the reason that we're on the air, and we're trying to kind of formulate keeping our stories alive, and that's principally what our show is all about, Tampa Native Show, talking about growing up in Tampa. So please feel free to call us anytime.
Good deal, and I will. Thanks again.
Thank you so
Vince.
much, Vincent.
All right.
Good night.
Great call.
Wow, that's
What
pretty
a great way to call.
What a
'cause,
great way to start the show.
Tampa's become this big city.
Right.
I
But
know.
yet this is a small core, and we all know one another. And the memories I have from playing with Vince and Lee Powerty on Davis Island and through high school.
Did he play Little League with you as well, Richard?
They played Little League with us at Ed Wright Little League. And,
Oh, my goodness.
You know, another one of our fans here, Gary Ippolito's the outstanding pitcher of the Ed Wright Little League. And,
Gary's out there watching.
Yeah,
Gary, did you hear that? You were an outstanding
Oh,
pitcher.
gosh, he was great. You could never hit Gary.
Boy, Gary.
Well, Richard, I had a little funny look on my face when Vince called in, and the reason is I'm related to a Vince Pelori. But I don't know if it's the same family of the caller. But we'll have to look into that a little bit later and determine that.
Okay.
That's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
That's excellent.
Well, Vince and his family, his grandfather started Florida Dairy back in Brandon years ago.
Of course.
And to give you an idea, Vince's family has been selling us dairy products for 97 years.
Right, right.
So, that's
Wow.
what Tampa is all about.
Exactly.
Family businesses working
Deepest,
together and
longest
staying
roots.
friends. Yeah, that's wonderful.
Wow.
That's amazing. Well, we've got a call. Let's see who's on line 4. Caller, you're on the air. Tell us your name, where you're calling from.
Yeah, Tony Gonzalez, Tampa, Florida.
Hi, Tony Gonzalez, Tampa, Florida. How are you?
Fine. How you doing, sir?
Thanks for calling this evening. Mr. Gonzmart here with us. You want to talk a little Columbia restaurant tonight?
Yeah, well, I was about 6 or 7 years old. My dad owned a bakery in Ybor City,
Okay.
and I'd go with my brother to deliver bread at the Columbia. Used to be an ice cream place behind it, Tropical Ice Cream. I think.
Tropical ice cream, right?
Yeah.
My great uncle Gustavo Hernandez ran it and used to make an ice cream, coconut ice cream in the side of a fresh coconut shell. It was wonderful.
I don't think Richard had too many great experiences growing up. If I can interject that, throw that in there right now. I'm going to lower my voice and get very serious.
Oh, yeah.
Part of my job growing up, Tony, was tasting all the ice cream, the tutti frutti, and oh God, it was great.
I did read that in the book, Richard, for the coconut ice cream. Tony, where'd you go to high school?
I went to Jefferson. My dad owned the bakery's not there anymore. It's the community college. He owned Young Bakery in Ybor City.
Okay,
very
wow.
good. Very good.
Yeah.
Well, we thank you.
All righty.
I hope to see you again.
Tony,
I got plenty of stories.
listen, feel free to call our show anytime as well. Submit emails as well. We take your emails at show@tampanatives.com. And if this is the first time you're watching the show, towards the end of the show, in the last 10 minutes, we have a little simulated bolita drawing. Of course, you know the bolita's illegal.
Oh, yeah.
We pull little numbers out of a
Yeah.
bag, and tonight Richard's going to be our celebrity guest bolita drawer. And so just send us an email. Include a lucky number, 1 to 75. You may get lucky and win one of our prizes.
All righty.
Thank you, Tony. Thanks so much.
Thanks for calling.
Thanks, Tony.
Bye-bye.
We've got a caller on line 5. I just heard that my mic's not working. That's not a good sign. So I'm going to have to speak up. So maybe Stevie's mic will pick me up or Richard's mic.
Sure will. And
Here we go.
Go ahead, Mark.
Caller, you're on the air. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Well, this is Fran Costantino.
Oh, there's Fran.
Hey, Fran.
Hi, Fran.
Hey,
How
Fran.
are you?
I thought I'd be a little more animated tonight and give you all a big oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. Hi, Franny. Tell us your favorite Columbia story, or
Well,
two
y'all
of them.
probably read it last week, but I don't know if Richard saw the show last week. But I'm looking at the site of the restaurant where we used to walk in from 4th Avenue down 22nd Street, and I don't think we ever even walked in the front door of the Columbia. We used to walk in the cafe, and his dad and his mom, because they knew our families, would let us just sign on an account. We never paid. The kids never had money. We could walk in there with a whole crowd of 12 kids, and they would just let us sign our name. We'd walk out. I don't even know if they carry the spumoni anymore, but we used to get a whole damn thing of spumoni for
Oh,
the
I
whole
remember that Spumoni. Sure do.
pañola. They would fill us up a whole quart of crema pañola. We would just sign for it and just go prancing out the door.
You know, Fran, I've never heard that story, but that's a wonderful story. And
It's like y'all with a MasterCard and the Visa before there was MasterCard. We'd go across the street, we'd sign at the hardware, we'd go to Genex, we'd go to Tamburello. All those kids who had charges when we didn't even know what the heck we were doing at that time. But the Gonzmarts were, if we won a volleyball game at Sacred Heart, I'd take the whole damn team there, sign my name, and my daddy would settle up with yours at the end of the month, and life went on.
It's
but those
what
were
you
happy
call-
days. At the days when we can walk down 27th Avenue when the trucks weren't hitting either side of your restaurant. The kids were safe to just walk down the sidewalk and go in that side door.
That's when Tampa, everybody knew one another and the relationships, and you trusted.
Yeah,
Each
but
other.
you're part of the family, and we grew up there and took my kids there and had parties there, and I just want to thank you for all what you're doing for the community.
Oh, Fran, thank you for the call. It's wonderful to hear those memories, and you know, these families we go back many generations, and that's what this show's all about. Why I was excited to be a sponsor and be on the air and to recall and teach our children about the life that we lived, and hopefully that they'll understand what it takes to make a community great.
We have to do that. If we lose what we have, then it's gone forever.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Fran. Un beso. Thank you so much for
All
calling.
right, darling. Take care, guys.
Thanks, Fran.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
You can bring up that next image anytime, but I would like to interject at this time while we're waiting for our next phone call that we heard an interesting story yesterday as we were briefing for the show. Tell us again, Richard, the Babe Ruth story that you told us at the office.
You know, Babe Ruth used to live in St. Petersburg. He had a home there, and he used to come to the Columbia all the time during Prohibition. Prohibition was when you couldn't serve alcohol, but it seemed like the Columbia had alcohol. And Babe used to come in and eat a 14-ounce New York strip, and sometimes two. And he was thrown out of the restaurant for drinking too much. But Babe one time brought my grandfather a baseball bat, a black bat that he autographed, and we still have it today. My brother has it. I guess that's so he wouldn't get thrown out again, so he could have another drink.
Interesting.
You know, we talk about those tables could talk and the stories.
That's so true.
Babe Ruth and Joe DiMaggio and all the Yankee greats that were there, and you know what gave Tampa the passion for baseball.
And Richard, also, in addition to Babe Ruth and Joe DiMaggio, were there other players and other famous baseball players? And
You know,
football,
so many
right?
baseball players came, and I can remember when the Dodgers were in town. I wasn't here, but I remember hearing the story when Jackie Robinson was in town, and back then, you know, it was a problem. And my grandfather said he believed that everybody should be served, and they got him into the restaurant. We served him, and he was the first African American to join Major League Baseball, and he was one of the first to be able to come and enjoy dinner at the Columbia. We were proud to be part of that.
Well,
That's
I
a
think
great
that's
story.
I hope that can you hear me still, Jeff, out there? Because I'm going to speak up so that hopefully my words can get picked up on the other microphones. But that's what a lot of people need to understand about the legacy that Mr. Gonzmart here holds dear. That, you know, starting with his great grandfather, Casimiro Sr., a legacy of generosity has always prevailed where the Gonzmarts are concerned. And that family tradition continues even today. So, I mean, if you haven't been down to the restaurant in a while, well, what are you waiting for? Hey, we've got a caller on line 4.
All right.
We had a caller on line 4. Caller, please call back. I may have done that accidentally. You may have hung up just when I hit that button, but please call back. We have a line open. Besides the famous athletes, and of course, if you consider the fact that since 1903 that restaurant has been there, started out as a saloon, the saloon in the classic sense, with the swinging wood doors and the dirt floor. 1903, so you're talking about horses and horses and carriages and so forth. If you consider that it's been there that long, how many famous and even infamous people have come through that restaurant and dined there? It's an amazing legacy. Here we got 2 callers back. Caller, you're on the air. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Oh, this is Fran again, and I don't want to manipulate the show, guys.
Fran, I don't think the word is manipulation. I think it's domination. Or... Go ahead, Franny.
I just thought of something really funny for Richard and see if Richard remembers.
Mm-hmm.
Sam Lato with the West Tampa Shitty Fair Association used to brag that he was the only person that ever took a horse in the Columbia restaurant.
I heard that story too, and it's the truth.
We have pictures of Thunder that went in the Columbia restaurant.
Sam Lato had a fond memory. I have a fond memory for Sam Lato. His love and passion for Tampa, Ybor City, and that horse Thunder was magnificent. And he's about the only guy that could ever do that. Would be allowed to. Not
even a Clydesdale probably would have made it.
Nobody would be. Sam's the only guy that could have pulled that off.
No doubt.
Wonderful friend. Thanks for that memory.
All right, darling. Awesome. Take care. Good night, guys.
Thanks, Fran. And if you look at the picture behind us, this is kind of that era. This is one of the earliest photographs on record that we have, and it appears in the Centennial book that was published 3 years ago on the Columbia restaurant. Look at that photo.
That photo comes from 1906 is what we determined. We looked at it. It's the same original bar. It was mahogany colored back then, stained, and then it was antiqued in the 40s. Somebody came up with that great idea. So it still exists, and we keep on refurbishing and renovating and preserving it. And it's part of the history. Cigar Aficionado called it America's first original cigar bar.
Oh, lovely.
Wow. And then,
that's a nice title.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the, not only the lure, but the charm, because, when you travel throughout Europe, as you have extensively, Richard, and you go into some of those pubs, whether it's in London or some of those bars in pubs in Germany and so forth, some of those places are 200 and 300 years old and older.
Here, the Columbia restaurant is 105 years old, and you go there, there's a restaurant in Madrid, Casa Botín, founded in 1650.
There you go.
I mean, wow.
There you go.
I'm brought back, even in Spain, they say 100 years old is quite a long time. But when you go to Europe, though, these magnificent buildings and bars and so forth, we're proud to be Florida's oldest and to preserve it and bring it that history back. When you walk in, you feel like you step back in time when the cigar rollers were working and walk into their to work.
Oh yeah. What stories?
We get that sense when we walk in there for lunch.
Look at the calls.
Caller, you're on the air. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Hey, my name is Sean. I'm calling from South Tampa.
Hi, Sean.
Hi, Sean.
How you guys doing tonight?
Good.
You're doing wonderful.
Hey,
yourself?
good evening.
I'm doing great. I emailed one of you guys about a week or so ago about an educational documentary of Tampa that I was looking to produce for children.
Okay.
I did get a response. As far as my experience with the Columbia, I've been a couple times, and I wanted to bring this up. I had a stack of old records that was given to me, and I have it here in front of me, and it's actually called A Night at the Columbia with Cesar Gonzmart.
Right. Yeah, my dad made 3 records and 1 CD, and he had there Pepe Urquiaga singing and Jose Forns and some wonderful musicians when they had the strolling violins in the 60s. And we actually got those records and reproduced them into a CD so we can preserve that. When I hear that music, it takes me back to the 50s, to the 60s, and seeing my dad strolling around, playing the violins, blowing kisses to the ladies, and kissing the hands. And so it's a great record. Try playing it. You'll enjoy it.
Yes, I actually intend on doing that because this is National Hispanic Heritage Month, and one of the programs that I'm doing for our kids at school, it's for our 5th graders. I'm going to be doing a PowerPoint presentation of some of Tampa's Latin influences, and one of the picture that you have behind you guys, I actually have in my slideshow, so I thought that was pretty cool as well.
Excellent.
I'm born here, I'm a Tampa native, and I think Tampa has so much rich history that because of the fact that Tampa was a transplant city, that a lot of people don't realize how much history Tampa has, and I feel fortunate to be able to pass it on to the kids that I work with. And I really, really like your show. I appreciate it, and I really wish you guys the best of luck.
Thank you, Sean. Thanks for your support as well, Richard.
Well, what Sean brought up, though, was people don't realize that when they say the Cuban sandwich is not a real Cuban sandwich because it has salami, it's different than Miami. Well, the Cuban bread in Tampa is better than the bread in Miami, better than the bread in Cuba. And the reason it has a salami is because of the Italian immigrants that came here.
Exactly.
Of course.
And the Spanish brought the ham, and the Cubans brought the pork, and the mustard and the pickles came from the German immigrants that had the shops there. And that Tampa sandwich is really what it should be called.
Right.
It's a
covered all the
classic.
bases.
And the Tampa bread, too. It should be
Tampa
called maybe
bread.
more Tampa bread than
There's
Cuban bread.
we took some of the bakers from there to our restaurant in St. Augustine. It must be the water.
Yeah, that's what everybody says. Sean, thank you so much for your call.
All right, guys, have a good night.
Take good care.
And Richard, a lot of people don't know that history about the Cuban sandwich too. All the cultures that it encompasses.
They don't realize it. They don't realize it. They start bringing up, well, it's not a real Cuban sandwich. It's because it's unique to Tampa.
Exactly.
only.
Exactly.
Maybe we did it a disservice by naming it a Cuban sandwich per se. Now, what's this picture we're looking at here? I think I know what that is.
Well, tell me, what do you think it is?
Well, I know. So I'll tell you. I think this is the 50th anniversary of the restaurant. So it must be circa 1955?
1955. On the left is Mayor Curtis Hickson.
Okay.
My father, Cesar Gonzmart. My grandfather, Casimiro. My mom, Adela. And to her right, my grandmother, Carmen. And for the 50th anniversary of the Columbia, they had that cake. The mayor came out, and they invited every couple that was married 50 years and over to be our guests for lunch and dinner that night. It was a great success.
How could it not be?
And we got the same idea when our restaurant in Sarasota turned 50 last year. We invited everybody. Within one day, we had 300 couples reserved for that particular day. So that's a great memory for me. And I although I don't remember it, the picture makes me feel like I was there.
That's a wonderful photo. Well, we've got a caller on line 5. We had a caller on line 5. Where are you going, callers? Stay with us. We're talking to Richard, but we see the lines blinking there. We're trying to get to you. Well, there it is.
They're back again.
Let's go see. Caller, you're on the air. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Hi there.
Caller, you there?
I think we lost him.
Caller, you're on the air. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
This is Big Mike from Orlando. I call in all the time.
Hey, Mike.
This is I wish I could say first time caller, but no, this is Big Mike, and Mike calls every week, and he's one of our best fans. Mike, you're seeing us on the computer tonight, are you?
Yes, sir, I am. Streaming live, look great, and Richard, true pillar in the community.
Yes, sir.
Forever, the familia.
Thank
My
you.
grandfather was a laundromat at Oak Park Cleaners.
Oh, yeah.
There for 40 years, and there was a cook.
Padrina.
They used to call him Shorty.
Shorty, yeah, sure.
Forever.
Yeah, Shorty was famous.
I got to tell you, Richard, thank you for sponsoring the Columbia, sponsoring everything, the true leaders and everything in Tampa. And you talk about everything. I've been to St. Augustine. My uncle Nelson Perez and everything. Nelson Perez
Sure.
had the wedding up there. My cousin Gina. That's awesome. I got to tell you, it warms my heart to see you guys, and thank you so much for sponsoring this.
Mike, since you know us so well, would you like to be a secret shopper?
Secret shopper? No, I want on the Bolita.
No, the secret shopper is not a bad gig
No,
either.
secret shopper. Go eat at our restaurants and just tell me how it is as my guest.
Exactly.
Mother, eat?
Yeah, eat.
You don't know Big Mike. Oh, yeah, Mike. We'll talk about this and send me an email if we'll hold Richard to this. If you get up to St. Augustine, and what it means is go into the store like John Q. Public and evaluate the service and the meal, and Richard reimburses.
What I'm going to do is get together with me. I'll send you a card, and at the end of your meal, you present it. And if the general manager's not there in 5 seconds, he's in trouble. But hey, we'd love to have your response.
Ain't no secret. If I wear a nose and glasses and stuff like that, I'm like a sore thumb.
Great talking with you.
Thank you, Michael.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks so much for being there for us every week.
Definitely.
I love you guys and watch it every week. And when I don't, how about a box set for Christmas? What do you?
That's an idea.
Did you see where I wrote? I read Michael Pizzaferrato. I used to know him as Tony, but when we went to high school, he was Tony. But I read Michael's email, and
Marcus,
there you go.
he's a great drummer. You know what? Unfortunately, well, what doesn't matter.
But I've been in touch with him. He's doing great, and I'm turning a lot of people on the show.
Good.
And a lot of the Jefferson and everybody else. And Steve Cannell, you look great.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're the man.
Hey, thanks, Mike.
Yeah,
So glad you called, too.
And cheers to Shorty.
Okay.
Thank you, brother.
Thanks,
We'll talk
Mike.
to you again real soon.
Hasta luego. I mean, hasta luego.
Hasta luego.
Hasta luego.
Thank you. Right to five. Caller, you're on the air. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Oh, well, my name's Mary. I'm in Tampa Palms.
Hi, Mary.
My question is for Richard.
Hi.
Not really a question. It's a comment.
Sure.
The paintings that are hanging at the restaurant. My recollection was that a family member had painted those. He would work at night when the restaurant was shut down.
No, unfortunately, nobody in our family was talented enough. They were wonderful musicians, but not artists. My dad had hired a talented man named Sergio de Mesa.
That's who I'm calling about.
Yeah.
Sergio de Mesa. I can't hear you.
Yeah, Sergio de Mesa was the...
Sergio. His name was Sergio.
Yeah.
Sergio.
Right.
De Mesa. He was my ex-husband's uncle.
Oh, no kidding.
Wow.
Yes. And I've seen the painting outside, in the entrance, in the foyer. And his name was there. I haven't been there in a while, so I don't know if the painting is still there.
It still is, Mary. My dad had Sergio paint the entire story of Don Quixote. We had 189 paintings of Don Quixote that my dad had him paint.
Right. He was an excellent painter. His son is also a painter. He teaches at Tampa U.
Right. I haven't heard from him in a while, but I met him and love to see him again. They're very talented.
Yeah, well, I'm older than you all are. You're probably my kids' ages, but I went to the Novedades through the back door like the Fran Costantino was talking about. We hardly ever went to the dining area. So I've really enjoyed your shows. You all are doing a great job. I've enjoyed the Tampa Natives online site.
Awesome.
You're,
Thank you so
you're,
much.
you're a Tampa native, but you moved to New Tampa.
Well,
She's a new Tampa native.
yeah, I'm born and raised in Tampa.
That's great to hear from
For
you.
high school.
Thank you, Mary.
nice.
Thanks so much for being there and being one of our fans. And
Yeah.
listen, call back anytime.
I think one of my kids went to school with Steve if he went to Tampa Catholic. Greg
did.
Meza.
Greg DeMeza, yes, and also St. Lawrence Elementary.
Right, exactly. That's
Wow.
his mother.
Well, you know,
That's Mary DeMesa.
That's what
that's,
Tampa's about.
well, it's nice meeting you, by the way, Mary. And that's awesome.
Well, there's another Mary DeMeza now because my ex-husband remarried.
Well, but you're the original,
You're the original.
okay? Let's
Okay,
settle like
that's all
it
matters.
is.
That's all matters.
Right. I'm the first one.
That's right. That's right.
Okay. Well, thank you again.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Mary.
Bye-bye.
Oh, bye.
Take care.
You know, guys,
Amazing.
this is exactly what Richard mentioned earlier about Tampa has grown quite a bit. However, there's still a nucleus of Tampa natives
It's
here.
a nucleus.
And then see all the connections taking place even tonight. The last couple calls, it's just incredible, and that's what's making the Tampa natives concept so remarkable.
That's why when you guys talked to me, I
rich.
said, what a great idea.
Yeah.
To connect the Tampans together once again and share these stories. When I heard the one about falling behind the mosquito truck, yeah, I used to do that.
Yeah,
What were we
see?
thinking in the
We were.
fog?
We all did the same thing at about the same time, you know.
Yeah.
And it's amazing, really amazing.
It's a beautiful part of our wonderful story here in Tampa. Caller, you're on the air. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
My name is Bruce. I'm in South Tampa. I just want to call and mention the jazz club that the Columbia used to have back in the 80s.
The which club?
Jazz.
Jazz Club, the Warehouse.
Yes.
The Warehouse and the cafe. We had street beat in the front, rock and jazz, and then Tapestry was in the back. And I built that club.
I think they had an outstanding flute player.
David Philbrick. I saw David in Orlando, December 30th, and I said, when are you guys available? They said, February 14th, Valentine's Day. And I said, what do you know? That's when I'm going to have an opening to my club. And the club didn't exist. It was a warehouse. I didn't tell my dad I was going to open this place. And they came in about 2 weeks before to check out the club. I said, well, we closed it for remodeling. And the day they opened, we had just finished, and they were a great jazz group. David Philbrick, Mark Claremont on drums, Robin Foreman on the keyboards, and the bass player's name escapes me.
They used to pack the people in there on the weekends. It was a great time.
They were truly great players, and David still lives in the area, but he's not playing anymore. I've been wanting to get him to come back, and we have Dick Rivers' band playing. Dick used to play in the cafe in the front before that, but that's when the old days they had great music.
Exactly.
Well, thanks for that great
Good show.
memory.
I'll talk to you again.
Bruce, call back anytime and tell your friends about us here, Tampa Native Show on Wednesday nights. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Listen, I have to point this picture out because if you can just get us out of here for a minute so that everybody can enjoy this photograph, I'm just going to set it up by saying this is Richard's parents, that's Cesar and Adela, and two more handsome people you couldn't imagine. And I also want to throw this out there because maybe people don't know this, but I'm impressed by this every time I think about it. Richard's father was a violin virtuoso by the age of 16, traveled extensively through South America and throughout the Caribbean, playing his music, playing his violin. He was a dual, okay, not enough that he had one PhD, he had two PhDs in music. And of course, his mother, Adela, was a world famous and accomplished pianist who graduated from the music school of Juilliard in New York City. So I can't even imagine, I get goosebumps thinking about it, what it must have been like tripping over your father's violin when you're 3 and 4 years old. And these were your parents. Forget about the restaurant style for a minute, Rich.
I love that photo. I call it their Lucy and Desi portrait.
Isn't that great? Isn't that great?
My dad, his name was Cesar Gonzalez Martinez. And that was a very common name. And so he combined his father's name, Gonzalez, mother's maiden name, Martinez. And he would travel around the greatest hotels in the United States with my mom. And my brother was on the road for the first few years. And when I see that picture, they're so happy. And I think about that. I was in a rock and roll band when I was 15. All we made was noise. And my mom and dad were so happy to have us there. Here are these world-class musicians listening to 4 guys playing 3 chords. Yeah, banging. We didn't know what we were doing. But when I see them, that picture makes me very happy. And Albert Martinez, the artist in Ybor City, painted that with Cuban coffee and red wine.
Oh, wow.
Oh, it's just a classic. It hangs in the cafe.
Fascinating.
Yeah, that's a beautiful photograph.
That is awesome.
Yeah. What a couple.
Wow.
Let's take another call. Caller, you're on the air. This is the Tampa Native Show. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Here, this is the Tampa Native Show. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
This is Philip Nunez.
Hey, Philip Nunez, turn down your TV and talk to us here. I figured you might get inspired tonight and call in Mr. Nunez, but what have you to say for yourself?
Well, I have a story to tell Richie. That's kind of a funny story.
Please.
I was working in the Fonda, and it so happened this waiter, named Morejon,
Oh, yeah.
he came through the door and to go into the Fonda from the kitchen, and he fell. You know, on the tray, everything on the floor. So he gets up, goes out, comes back on with a tray full of food, same, falls again.
Gosh,
This time the people started to applaud him.
Don't tell me he took a third fall.
And there was a custard missing. And then this customer takes it out of his jacket and he tells, "Are you looking for this?" Un flan, you know, was in his pocket. That was something else, that story, you know, but it's true.
Well, and how long did you work at the restaurant, Mr. Philip Nunez?
Around 20 years.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, your dad was one of my favorite servers there that worked with us. And, you know, everybody that worked there was like family. And your dad felt like I was a family member whenever I talked to him. He always was so nice to me.
I opened the Siboney room, you know.
Yeah, you were there in '58, and that opening of the supper club, the Siboney, the most expensive dining room in Tampa Bay. Prime rib was $2.25.
Well, Mr. Nunez, thank you so much for calling, and we know you're out there watching every week. We appreciate that.
Great job now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mario, we got an email from Mike Beluha.
Please.
Let's go ahead and read that real quick.
Yes.
And this email is from Mike Beluha. He writes, Richard, I just want to thank you and your family for continuing to maintain the standard of excellence that is the Columbia Restaurant. My father was always so proud to be part of your family. I appreciate the restaurant acknowledging his years of service by inducting him into the Hall of Fame, and I wish you guys continued success for many generations to come. Long live one of Tampa's most legendary landmarks. Sincerely, Mike Beluha, Jr.
Mike, thanks so much. Your dad was in the inaugural Hall of Fame of the Columbia Restaurant, and he was my teacher when I was a young boy working at 15 years old at the front door. And Mike was the dining room manager, but he started off as a server in the cafe. He told me so many stories. So charming, remembered everybody's name. And I'm still trying to remember how he did it. But he was a true legend and a gentleman and a dapper dresser. Always dressed perfect, magnificent. Great memories.
Mike Baluja, thank you so much for that email, and thank you so much for being such an integral part of our show.
Absolutely.
Mike offers a great deal of technical help here, and responsible chiefly for the intro that you saw with the music, and of course for the closing credits as well. Mike is one of our favorites. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Let's take this next call real quick. Caller, you're on the air. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Hello.
Mario, it's Gary at Blue.
Hey, Gary, talk to us, and turn down that TV.
I'm trying to get Brenda to do it as we speak.
All right.
Hey, Richard, how are you doing tonight, you and Steve?
Man, it's great. I was hoping I'd get to talk to you.
Well, I just wanted to say congratulations on your fantastic restaurant, and I'll always have a great time every time we go there. So just congrats out to you guys also.
Well, Gary, every time I see you, it just brings back fond memories, and I'll look forward to seeing you at the USF basketball games this coming year.
You will do that, absolutely.
All right.
Thanks, Gary.
Thanks, buddy.
We'll talk to you
Just wanted
soon.
to say hello tonight. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to bring up real quick, too, because there's so many things that I have notes here. Ladies and gentlemen, stand by. Those of you that are on the line there, we're going to get right back to you. Let's talk for just a quick second. Oh, you can't hear me because my mic's not working. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. You're on the air. Okay, I know what it was. I digress. When Richard was talking to Mr. Nunez, that would be my father. When he was talking to my pops here just a few minutes ago, he was talking about when opening up the Siboney, which was the finest dining experience in all of Tampa, and the main courses were $2 and $3 at the time. Well, the 1940s was a very good decade. And tell us a little bit about that, Richard.
We were preparing a book for our 100th anniversary, and Andy, who's the author, put these documents together. We donated all of our papers and works to the University of South Florida Library, and they found documents, bank records, that the Columbia was doing over $1 million in 1943.
1943
dollars. 1943. Now those are dollars that a complete dinner was $1.50, $1.75. You got salad, you got arroz con pollo, you got flan, and coffee. You can't even go to Starbucks and get a medium coffee now. What has happened to our dollar?
What has happened to our dollar? And can you imagine how much arroz con pollo you have to sell for $1.50 to make $1 million?
But I've got so many of those menus. I collect the old menus from the late 30s and 40s, and yellow rice and chicken was more expensive than the Key West crawfish.
And we also saw those the other day. And you mentioned to us that lobster was also very
Lobster was $1.25. Lobster and yellow rice.
That's incredible.
Imagine. I'm trying to think of how many meals they served to reach $1 million in sales.
It's mind-boggling, the numbers.
And the 40s was a hopping place too.
And the 40s and 50s, because we had just come out of the Depression.
Exactly.
Which, of course, I don't think that really the Columbia ever suffered too much from the Prohibition era and the Depression, because we always had a means. But then by the 40s, things really started to pick up. Caller, you're on the air. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Al from Tampa.
Al, did you say?
Al. I was wondering if Mr. Gonzmart could tell us the house wine that they serve there, the Adelita and the Don Caesar, is some of the best that I have ever had.
Thank you.
I understand there's a story there. It comes from a special vineyard in Spain. Could you tell us about that?
Yeah, I'll tell you about when my dad was suffering from pancreatic cancer. I wanted to remember my dad and while he was still alive. And Leroy Neiman, a great artist, had done a sketch of my dad, and he gave it to my dad, and he kept two of them. And I saw Leroy Neiman showing that sketch 2 days later. So I asked Mr. Neiman, can I use this picture as a wine label? He says, of course, your father is one of the outstanding men I've ever met. And so we went looking for a winery, and I didn't have the connections then. We were using a Rioja. And then I went to Spain with my wife, Melanie, and we visit. The red wine is produced by Fortunato Arranz from the Ribera Duero region. They're 5 generations. For 100 years, they've been farmers. They started making wine about 15 years ago. And I go and I select the cuvee, the selection I want for my dad, and we'll buy that whole allotment. I said, if I'm going to put my dad's name on it, it had to be great. And then while my mom was alive, and she was happy for that, and I brought 9 white wines over, Chardonnays. I said, Mom, try these wines. She said, why? Just try them. So my mom tried one. She said, I like this one. I said, well, don't you really like that one? And she said, no, I like this one. And so I didn't tell her, so we bottled Adelita, her style, and then Adelita Gold Label. And so the people that make that are our family friends, the Torres family, and they have a great winery in the Penedès region called Jean Leon, and it's a Chardonnay. And again, the same thing, we try the wines. So if I'm going to have my mom and dad's name, it's going to be great. It's going to be a great value. Thanks.
Thanks so much for your call.
Great call. Thank you.
Al, thank you. Call anytime.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, we know that it has to be great because really and truthfully, I think calidad, quality, is something that the Columbia Restaurant has always prided itself on. It's an amazing legacy, ladies and gentlemen, and it continues. And it continues, and it will continue, I'm sure.
For the last 15 years, we've been working. Oh, what's that mean?
Oh, hello.
Gentlemen, we have 15 minutes left.
Well,
the time flew.
There she is.
Yes.
Can't this be Ybor City time? Another
half hour, please. Another half hour, please. Thank you, 15-minute girl. We appreciate that. Well, let's get to the callers before it gets too late, and we have to shut
They're
people
hot and heavy
off.
today.
They're hot, coming hot, and we knew this was
believe
going to
it.
happen, Richard. Yeah. Caller, you're on the air. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
This is Andy from Palm River.
Hey, Andy.
From Palm River. How you doing, Andy?
Pretty good. Maybe you could help me settle a bet with Mr. Gonzmart's assistant.
Okay, here he is.
Okay, there used to be 2 fountains out front.
That's right.
Okay, at one time there was a barber shop there, and when I would get my haircut, I seem to remember that the fountains also had either goldfish or frogs along the base. Do you remember that?
Yeah, they had frogs along the base. Those fountains were bought in Florence, Italy in 1965. My dad brought them back. And then unfortunately, because of all the accidents, they got hit, and my dad kept on reproducing them and making them, and now there's no fountains left. But one time somebody put some live gars inside the fountain.
No.
No, these big gars with these sharp teeth. And some young kid one time was going in to get some pennies, and the gar bit him.
Oh, no. Nice.
I don't know if there was gar a la russa that night or not.
I bet you there was. Andy, does that help you?
Oh, honey, I was right. You owe me $5.
Tell her not
That's
to be
good.
mad.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for your call, Andy. Call anytime.
That was great.
Good day.
Thank you.
Well, we settled that bet.
That's wonderful. Caller, you're on the air. Tell us your name and where you're calling from. Caller, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. It's Tanya Fernandez.
Oh. Hi, Tanya Fernandez. How are you?
Doing good, doing good.
Tanya, I'm glad you called because you've got a little story to tell Mr. Gonzmart as well. Tell him your story.
Okay, great show tonight, by the way.
Thank you.
Thank
Enjoyed it. My grandfather, Manuel Mendoza, he was a waiter there for 24 years. And also my husband, he was a busboy there during high school and had many fun times there. We've eaten there a lot and enjoyed it very much every time. The one thing I remember about the Columbia, it really had to do with my grandfather. He would work the split shift, and you guys were talking about baseball earlier. I would be at his house, and he'd be there watching the Yankees game while he was dressing to get back to the Columbia for the dinner shift. And I always remember that. And of course, he didn't want to leave because he wanted to watch the Yankees, but it was his job, and he enjoyed himself there very much and worked with Felipe Nunez.
Tanya, the men that were the servers back in those days, truly professionals. I went to visit my dear friend Juan Contreras. It's in the hospital now, and worked with us for 40 years. And they never wrote down an order. They'd remember it. There weren't computers. They would yell out the order to the cooks, and you can imagine the amount of plates coming out. And maybe you didn't order what they served you, but it was usually good.
Exactly.
They took it. But you're right. They just remembered everything and didn't write down anything.
They're truly professionals. I'm blessed to have grown up there from the age of 3 and to witness these great people that were so nice to me.
Well, I've enjoyed the show again tonight. It's been great to have a special guest, Mario and Steve.
Yeah, you're not kidding, and the most specialist of special guests. We're really happy that
phenomenal.
He's our first in studio guest.
Tanya, I think I remember seeing a picture of your dad. I'm going to go back and check it out.
Yeah, my grandfather.
Your grandfather, yes, I'm sorry.
Absolutely, yeah. He's I'm sure, I think he's in one of the books.
Yeah, he is. I'm just trying to remember, but that's a great memory. Thanks.
There was a lot of them. Anyway, take care and enjoy it.
Oops.
That's it.
Thank you, Tanya.
Okay.
Thank you.
We lost her.
Bye-bye.
Bye. That's my cousin.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah,
okay.
That's my cousin. Manuel Mendoza was my grandmother's brother.
Oh, no kidding. Wow.
So Manuel was Phil's uncle. and they, all those wonderful memories.
That name just rings a bell. I just can't recall.
There you go with a small world again.
With about 10 minutes to go in the show, this might be a good time for us to do that lucky number drawing, just to make sure we don't miss it. And this week we're going to have a special lucky number drawing. This will be for next week. This will be for next week, because this week, no, wait, don't worry. That's going to set record numbers of emails. This week we're giving away, as you recall from last week's show, we're giving away this fabulous Tampa Native shirt, which all three of us here on the panel tonight have. And of course, on the back, you see our sponsor, the Columbia Restaurant. So we're getting ready to do that now. I'll go ahead and take out these fabulous lotto or bingo / bolita balls. And our lucky number contestants this evening is Deborah with the number 53, Edie with the number 14, and Tanya, I believe that's our last caller, the number 55. It's closest to without going over. Let's see what happens. And the lucky number 46. Is 46. 46 means that...
Well...
No, it's got to be Deborah.
Deborah, that's right.
Deborah's our winner, Deborah.
Congratulations, Deborah.
Congratulations, Deborah. Deborah, what we need from you is an email with your email address, or I should say with your physical address, so we can get this shirt off to you, and the mailman would know where to deliver it. Now, this is a nice segue into what is going to be next week's giveaway, and this courtesy of Mr. Richard Gonzmart. Richard, tell us a little bit about this.
For the 100th anniversary, we wanted to compile the story of the family of each generation, every 25 years, the good, the bad, the ugly. And each generation has had serious struggles. You may think after 100 years, everything's easy. Well, it's always a struggle in this business. We're one of the few family-owned restaurants that are 100 years plus in the country. I've only been able to identify 8. But you're going to get this book with 80 recipes, secret recipes.
Thank you.
Including our 1905 salad and some of the new items that we created that are on the menu today that aren't in my mom's cookbook. It tells you the history of the Columbia, the love that we have for the community and the industry that we serve.
Thank you for that. Phenomenal. So this is a wonderful gift, and what we need from you, if you'd like the opportunity to try to win this in next week's drawing, is an email. It doesn't have to be anything too serious. It could just say, "Enjoyed your show, Mario and Steve. You're great. That guy Richard was okay too," and include a number, because without a number, we don't know what number to draw and what your number will be. So thank you so much for that, Richard. That's going to be wonderful. That'll make a nice holiday gift for the lucky winner.
Do we have time for another call, possibly?
Well, we can. Jeffrey, how much time do we have left? Okay, very good. Let's take this call real quick.
Okay.
Caller, you're on the air. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
I'm calling from Tampa.
And you are, and this is?
Mrs. Connie Gonzalez.
Okay, hi, Mrs.
Hey,
Gonzalez.
Connie. How are you?
My husband used to work at the Columbia. I think you remember us.
One, right?
Right.
Connie, turn down your TV and talk to us on the phone, because there's a little bit of an echo and it's throwing you off.
Yeah,
He's all happy about this. I'm calling you to talk to you, and he would like to talk to you too, I'm sure.
No, well, Connie and Juan were great.
I worked in the laundry.
Yeah.
I worked in the frozen food.
Right. And Juan was a tremendous chef. He made the best Spanish bean soup. He produced all the soups and sauces, and we were at a time that we didn't have that head chef, and Juan assumed that responsibility. Wonderful gentleman from Spain, and Connie, very hardworking individual. And I remember, Connie, y'all were there when I was starting in the business.
You were just a young kid when you started. I remember so well.
Yeah, those are good memories. Y'all were so nice to me, and I always enjoyed sitting and talking to Juan about the cooking, since I enjoyed cooking so much, and he taught me a lot.
I want to tell you something.
What's that?
Your father won the job as a dishwasher.
Yes.
And he kept on begging your father, "Please, I want to learn how to cook. I want to learn how to cook." And he said, not yet. And finally one day he says, "Okay, Juan, I'm going to give you a chance." So he gave him a chance, and from then on he went up and up and up. And he enjoyed it very much. He loved to work over there in the Columbia.
I was so sad the day that he left, and I miss seeing you guys. But no, you're always welcome. I'd love to see you for lunch one day. Join me for lunch.
Okay, one day I will.
Okay.
Love you.
Bye. We love you too.
Thank you, Connie. Thank you so much for your call.
That was a great call.
That was a great call.
Well, this is what we're experiencing just about every week now. I got to say, we've hit a tremendous high water mark, Richard, because with you in studio with us, the calls have come out not only in number but in sentiment.
To all the viewers, I want to thank you on behalf of our family for supporting our our business. And without the 105 years, we wouldn't be here 105 years without the viewers and the Tampa Bay, the community, the supporters. And we're proud to be part of Tampa Bay and proud to be able to be a part of the future.
And we're glad too.
Yeah, thanks a lot. It's been fun.
No, it's been great. The picture that you see there, ladies and gentlemen, is Richard's grandfather. That's Casimiro Hernandez. And you know, Casimiro always had a reputation for being quite a stern taskmaster and somebody who was always at the till and always watching everything that was going on. But he also had a very soft side. Remember, this is the man that was responsible for bringing Jackie Robinson in and ushering him into his restaurant at a time when it wasn't necessarily that much that popular of an idea. There's another photograph that I hope we get to before we run out of time. Is our next photograph ready? Jeffrey, bring that one up so we can talk about that. Now, this is the cover of the book. Richard, tell us a little bit about that.
We did this photo in front of the restaurant with our staff, and some of our legendary members have been there for many years, like Joe Roman, 56 years. Done for the 100th anniversary. We have our family in the middle. My wife, Melanie, my daughters, Andrea and Lauren. And I only had 2 grandchildren at the time, my brother Casey and his 3 adult children and one of his younger children. It was a great day. It rained 30 minutes before, everybody had rushed back in, but it gave a nice shine to the street, and that's where it all started there. That dream, and a young Cuban came from Spain with 4 children, no money, to the greatest country in the world, the United States, and through hard work, dedication, effort, and members that came to help us, the Columbia's still here today.
Fabulous.
We thank everybody.
And we're so grateful for that.
We are.
We've got another photo here that's a lot of fun, and I think we want to show this one before we go off the air, just to show you that the man sitting next to us has still has a lot going for him. That, ladies and gentlemen, take us out of the, there you go. That, ladies and gentlemen, is one Richard Gonzmart, the gentleman that's back to the wall there.
The red shirt with a ball head.
I wouldn't want to go there, boss, but the solid red shirt anyway. That would be one Richard Gonzmart who was experiencing the running of the bulls firsthand.
Yeah, I did it twice, and that time it was in an 8-foot wide street only, and there was a bull coming behind me. Another bull fell, sled hit my foot. I looked him in the eyes because I love animals, and I went to help him up, and I said, that would be my last mistake. It'd be a headline, Restaurateur Shish Kebab by Bull. Revenge of the Filet Mignon.
There it is. There it is.
It was a great fun. I need to do it one more time.
Okay.
Melanie, please, one more time.
What a memory that is, you know.
That's a great shot there.
You know, the Tampa Native Show is all about the memories of Tampa, growing up in Tampa, and nothing speaks Tampa Native more than Richard Gonzmart and his family and the Columbia Restaurant. Would you agree?
We're just proud to have been part of the beginning. There's so many families that have been here for generations, and I always ask everybody, "Where are you from?" When I meet somebody from Tampa, it's a big deal because I feel like we got that connection.
Oh yeah, it's so nice.
Yeah,
you know,
it's great.
Richard, with your permission, we would like to be able to end our show every week with a salute and happy days. Now, we know that wasn't traditionally, we don't want to offend.
It's okay.
We don't want to offend. With your permission,
this is wonderful. Manuel Biro was a wonderful guy.
That's what I'm thinking.
Right.
Fans
and another tremendous Tampa native.
And I miss so many of those restaurants that were here, and I think it would be appropriate, and I would welcome that.
Well,
great.
That said, and I didn't want to do it without his permission, so we've always just done until next week, salud, but now maybe we can expand that to salud and happy days. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been an incredible night for the Tampa Native Show. We're just getting started. Thanking Richard and his generosity once again for being here with us. So until next week, for Steve Canella and Richard Gonzmart, salute and happy days. We'll see you next week. Thank you all.
Cheers.